Hello, everyone. So this week we were introduced to labor, which is muscle family for transgender women, sex work. I just wanted to veer off that a little bit, and I wanted to highlight a form of labor that I saw to be prevalent in my community. For as long as I can remember, the only example of a trans woman in my community has been performers. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. I think even in Tangerine, when Alexandra performed her singing, we can clearly see that that's a way transgender women express themselves, their femininity. So that's what I wanted to talk about. Coming from a Latino community, I wanted to compare some of the differences and similarities between the experiences of transgender women. So today I have the honor of asking a dear friend about her experiences and sharing them with you. Without further ado, I would like to introduce Miss Alexis Vazquez.
So my name is Alexis Vazquez. I was born here in the United States in the state of New Jersey to Latino parents who were born in Uruguay. Yeah, so I'm a hairstylist, a makeup artist, a drag performer, amongst many other talents.
Okay, Alexis, how would you describe your childhood? What was your experience like being a trans woman growing up in our community, which is primarily Latino?
My experience was very different. I would say I was lucky enough and unlucky enough to live three different lifestyles. My father played professional soccer in South America for semi-pro. He was, back in the days, parents were raised very machismo to where, oh, you can't be gay, you can't be trans. It's just none of that existed, or they didn't want to believe that it was an actual way of life or that it was part of somebody. So they kind of shied away from it. Growing up, in Uruguay, in my parents' culture, if you were a crybaby, they wouldn't say, oh, you're such a crybaby. They would say, oh, stop maricon, or, stop being a maricon, which relates to being gay. More of a derogatory term of saying it. So it was kind of, hard because, I would constantly hear, oh, if you're crying, stop being gay. And I'm like, well, how do you know? Like,
Yeah.
I was young, but I was fortunate enough to live as a closeted male into a out of the closet homosexual male, and then later on in life, transitioning and becoming a transgender woman. So I kind of always knew because I felt it inside. I enjoyed doing things that women enjoy. I wanted to do my hair, I wanted to do my makeup, I wanted to dress as a woman. I knew that I dated men, and there was many times where I felt like, well, my life could have been so much easier if I would have just been born a woman. So I felt like deep down inside that's who I was. And it's, when people ask me to kind of explain it, it's pretty hard, but it's kind of like, so we're all born into a body and we're all souls. So at the end of the day, when we move on from this life, your body diminishes, whether, you're cremated or whatever, your body remains, but your soul leaves that body. So it's kind of like, well, who's to say what my soul is? Because my soul is in this temple, if you may, but that doesn't necessarily mean that my soul is the soul of the temple that I was born in. So, growing up and trying to explain that to Latino machismo parents, it was really hard. So, I dealt with a lot of backlash, a lot of discrimination, a lot of bullying growing up. I felt like I couldn't really be who I truly was until later on in life, when I was about 17 years old. I started, playing with drag at that time and, dressing up to go to clubs and stuff. And it literally started because a friend invited me to perform at their house. They were, moving to a new home and the house was empty. So they were throwing a huge, bang out, goodbye party. And they said to me, why don't you come and perform? And I'm like, what's that? They're like, you dress as a girl and you perform like you're that performer and so on and so forth. So I'm like, well, do I have to sing? Because my voice is not that cute. They're like, don't worry, you just lip sync. So I'm like, okay. So I got into it. I enjoyed it. And at that party, I met the owner of a nightclub who was like, oh, we host a weekly competition. You should come out and do this competition. So I was like, okay. So I went and did that competition. And I won on my first try. So ever since then, I was like, I love doing this. So I got to, play with drag before transitioning. And I knew that when I was dressed up, when I was that star, when I was my alter ego, which is Julissa Alizé, I became this whole different person. I felt like myself, we're going back many years. To date, I have 35 pageants won, including 3 national pageants. You see, I have a lot of my crowns on display and I keep them around because, just like someone would carry their soccer trophies or their football trophies or cheerleading. Well, this is my trophies, my crowns and my trophies that I win in my class. So I love doing it, but it was very hard growing up and trying to explain to people why I was the way I was because something at some point you don't even understand. It's not, people think you wake up and you just decide, well, I want to be an outcast today. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to enjoy looking at the same sex. So it's not how it works.
Yeah, it's like people think, oh, I want to feel discriminated. It's crazy. So talking about, you mentioned the discrimination you felt. Did you ever feel that this discrimination prevented you in any way from achieving other goals you might have?
Absolutely, absolutely. I've always wanted to act, sing. Since I was young, I used to tell my mother, I'm going to be a star one day. I'm going to be on TV. And I accomplished a lot of that. I was on the Wendy Williams show for, a contest and I won on TV. I won her contest on TV. And, there was many different things that I did, but not to the extent that I would have liked to. I like to say that I have a great personality and that I'm out there. Sometimes I'm funny. I can sit here and cry you a river and, act because it's what I enjoy doing. Female impersonation, as some might say, or female illusionist, but drag overall. Drag is what I do. Trans is who I am. So it's two different things. But yeah, I feel like it did hold me back a lot. There's so many things I could have done or that I wanted to do, but because of my lifestyle or because of my gender identity, you're held back from achieving those things because it's not what society deems normal.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. So you mentioned drag being a very big part of who you are. I actually just want to share this with the class. How I met you for the first time. You came to my house and performed as Lady Gaga, and it's just such a memorable experience for me. It stuck with me, and I was little, so I actually thought you were Lady Gaga, but it was amazing. So you're so great at what you do. And I wanted to ask, as an entertainer, do you feel that our community is what led you to express your femininity through through performance?
Um, I feel that what led me to express myself through a performance was because it was a safe getaway. So it was kind of like a comfort blanket. there's a lot of things that happen today, that were always around. There was always some kind of drag on TV, and it was always portrayed by a heterosexual actor, whether it be male or female. And it's kind of, I feel like it was kind of putting a blanket over reality, because it kind of like made fun. So it's kind of like, if we may, tomorrow, me being, a fully functional person and going and acting as a disabled person, it's kind of like, well, there's disabled actors out there. So why would you fill my seat? Why would I fill their seat when they can act that part? You know what I mean? So it's kind of like it draws a very thin line. But doing drag kind of felt like a comfort blanket to me, where I didn't necessarily have to act like somebody I was, because it's who I was. So I was putting on makeup, heels, and glamorous hair, and I felt like myself. I felt fabulous. And performing for children or at parties, like you said, the bright smile that lit up on your face when I was there performing was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, Lady Gaga's in my house. And
Mhm.
I really didn't, because when you told me you saw me perform, I was thinking all day like, but now I can remember like it was yesterday, walking in, the
Yeah.
crowd was all around, and you were like right
Mhm.
there at the end, and it was such a great experience. It puts sunshine into my heart to know that I can put smiles on people's faces or make people laugh and kind of forget about the drama that's going on in the world today, whether it's for a minute or an hour. I
Mhm.
enjoy doing that. I love making people feel great.
That's so kind. Um, I mentioned to you how the topic of this week was sex work. Is there anything you want to explain to us about your experience as a transgender woman?
So I think that the majority, I don't want to put a number on it, the majority of trans women at some point of their lives work with or work as a sex worker. And there's various reasons. Some people do it because they actually enjoy it. Some people do it because they can't find any other, means of income. You can go there and you can probably apply for, help from the government, whether it be food stamps or housing. And it comes to the point where, eventually, no one's going to just support you to sit there. So they're going to force you to go out into that world and look for a job. And what comes with trans hand in hand is dysphoria. So where some people will look in the mirror, and no matter how passable they might look, they still see who they were assigned at birth, which kind of creates a deep, deep depression. And again, it's dysphoria. It doesn't even sound like a nice word.
Yeah.
And they have to live that truth every day of their life. Now, also what people fail to realize is that transgender is not a physical form. Being trans is not a physical form, and it's not a look. It's not, oh, I have breast implants, so I'm more of a trans than the young one who just put makeup on for the first time in their entire lives, or the one who has a bald haircut and a beard, but because they can't express themselves, that doesn't mean that they're less transgender than someone who has had every single surgery. And a lot of people feel like, oh, if you're trans, you have to look a certain way. You have to look feminine if you're a transgender woman, or if you're a transgender man, you have to look like a man. And that's transgender is in your mind. It's something that you feel inside. It's not something that has a look to it. So again, it's really hard to find work out there sometimes. So a lot of trans women turn to sex work, excuse me, or drag. These are things that help you bring money into your household and help you to support yourself or whoever else you're supporting. And a lot of people do frown upon it, but I'll give you an example. So I'm single. I'm a single transgender woman. Not so great, but I'm hungry for love. There's so many nights that I sit in my bed and I'm like, am I not worthy of love? Simply because I was assigned the wrong gender at birth, or because I don't identify as what my body portrays to be? Am I not worthy of a man taking me out to dinner and kissing me on the cheek at night and holding my hands as we walk through town because of what others might feel or say? It's really, really hard. So we deal with so the point of me saying that is, I dabble with dating apps. I'm sure many of you here in the class have dabbled in them. There's many different ones, but I will tell you that on every app I've had, and I won't say, but it's some umpteen apps, probably everyone out there except Christian Mingles, not yet, but but every app that I've been on, my inbox gets so floored with messages. And I will tell you that most of the messages will say, oh my God, I've always had a fantasy. Oh my God, I would love to know what it feels like to have sex with you, or to, experience this, that, and the third. So when I think about it, and I say to myself, well, he's going to come over. We're not going to do anything. He's not going to take anywhere, because whether he has a wife at home or a girlfriend, and this is just an experience or a fantasy, he's going to want to come over. He's going to want to take our clothes off and do what we do. And then he's going to pack his stuff. He's going to head out. I'm never going to hear from him again. And he got home. He gets to go home to his wife and children or his girlfriend or his day to day life, while I'm stuck home, lonely, depressed, and feeling used. So a lot of trans women say, if you're going to treat me like a fantasy, you're going to pay me as a fantasy, because this ride, honey, is not free. But that doesn't mean that a trans woman won't settle down or won't find other means of work. It took me many, many years to luckily now open up my own hair salon and be able to live off that, as well as, doing makeup and things like that. But it still happens till this day. I get plenty of men who have fantasies that come into my salon and want me to cut their hair. And it's only because, oh my God, she's transgender. And it's really, I mean, at some point, it's like, where do you draw the line? You're like, wait a minute, I'm human. Before anything, I'm human.
We were actually talking exactly about this on my class on Monday. It's the fetishization of being with a transgender woman. They're not viewing you as a person. They're just thinking about this one body part or this one thing about you, but you're not viewing them as a person as a whole, and that's the problem there. And it's hard because it only happens to in that situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, there's something else I always, because I like to speak about being transgender. There's a couple of apps that I stream on, and I always like to give knowledge and educate people. So another thing the reason why people just want to do this and then go home. So most men might try to be with a transgender or with the same sex, and then when they go home, it's racing through their minds like, what did I do? Am I gay? Oh my God, I just slept with a man, or a transgender. Oh my God, am I gay? And they don't even say am I gay. They literally say, and they're like, oh my God, am I fag? What the heck did I just do? Like, it gets very brutal and very dark. But there's three things, right? So there's gender identity, right? There's sexual pleasure, and then there's sexual preference. Okay, so sexual pleasure is taken out of the equation. Okay, so we're all taught, or we were taught, at least I was growing up, that anal play is for it's a homosexual act, right? But sexual pleasure, regardless of what partner you're with, it doesn't make you any different than who you are. You're with that partner and you're enjoying yourselves, right? As you should in a relationship or in relations. So sexual pleasure is that, what you do behind closed doors, which personally is nobody's business, but you and the other person you're sharing, or other people you're sharing that moment with, right? And then there's gender identity, whether you're cisgender, male or female. So you were born in that body and you identify with that body, and then trans male, trans woman, or non-binary. Again, these are things that, it's how you identify with your gender. And then there's preference, right? So there's two preferences. There's no other preference. There's two preferences, right? There's feminine and masculine, right? So if you are bisexual, someone's bisexual, that's their preference. That means they enjoy masculine and feminine, right? A straight man that is attracted to a trans woman is not homosexual. He is not saying, oh my God, that dude in those Tims with that beard and that trucker hat is so sexy. No, he's saying, God, she's beautiful. Look at her body, look at her rump, look at her booty, whatever the case may be. He's attracted to femininity. Exactly. So people tend to say, oh, well, if he lays with a trans woman, he's gay. Or if a woman was to be with a trans man, that she's a lesbian. But that's not the case, because you're attracted to what you see. A gay man would never look twice at me, because they're not attracted to a woman. They're attracted to men who live their lives, dress and act like men. So, that again goes hand in hand with, some people throw that all into it because they don't understand it. And as in this world, people fear what they don't understand. So again, they end up trying to live this fantasy. And most girls say, okay, well, I can't work, so sex work is going to save me. And since I'm going to get used, because they're going to use me like an old rack, they're going to, wipe me up and throw me out, then I might as well get paid for it, because at least I got something out of the deal. It's funny, because I would always say, everybody in this world does sex work, even a wife with her husband. You want a brand new washing machine? Guess what? He's getting a little extra 10 minutes of some kind of action to get you that washing machine. So it happens. But yeah, so that's why I feel that a lot of trans women go down that route. It's various things. One, being felt like they're being used. Two, not being able to get a real employment because of they're being judged by society. So all these things come into play that kind of push people to do certain things.
Yeah, and I think the most important part is that I don't think people understand that trans women are women. So if a cisgender man, is attracted to you, that still makes him heterosexual, because at the end of the day, a trans woman is a woman. So
Absolutely.
with that, my question to the class and to you is, what do you think could be done differently to ensure that transgender women are able to reach their goals without having to turn to sex work or other things before something else?
So class, I'm going to go answer first before y'all. I think that today in society, education starts at home. It's very important to educate the children, because like what he said, I believe the children are our future. It's really true. So education starts at home, and whatever you preach and whatever you're teaching, whether it be going home and kind of speaking to your grandparents about it, or your parents, and explaining to them why things are X, Y, and Z, and helping them. Now, that doesn't mean that they need to agree with it, right? They just need to understand. And it's not only with the trans women or trans community. It's with LGBTQ. It's with the African American community. It's with, people who are not legal. It's with, Asians. It's every race, every religious belief, everything in life. You have to educate people that we're all different, because if we were all the same, we would just be boring. But kindly educating people to say, we're all here on this earth. So we all deserve equality. We all deserve to be treated equally, to be able to walk down the street as we are, and not have to pretend to be somebody else, be respected and be loved, because we're all worthy of it. We all deserve it. So I believe that explaining that and getting that knowledge out to people is what's going to make it easier for people tomorrow. But that doesn't mean just put it on hold and talk about this when you have children. That means it starts today. I challenge each and every one of you guys, when you step out of this classroom, whether it's this weekend at a college party, at a frat party, whether it's, going out with your friends for a beer or some coffee with your girlfriends, I challenge you all to bring up this topic and explain to them that we're all humans and we're all created equally. No one person is better than the next. And that's where we will make it so much better for the future, for your kids or your nieces and nephews or your younger brothers and sisters. It's making sure that everyone understands that today. Trans women are women, trans men are men. Treat them as such. Respect, and you shall be respected in every walk of life. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. This has been a great experience. Thank you for educating me and my class, and we are forever grateful to you.
Yep.
I promise to keep educating, whether it be at my house, my children. Thank you so much.
And I appreciate you so much for having me here today and, confiding in me and being an activist for the LGBTQ community as well as the trans community. I appreciate that so much, because your support means everything to us. No person is too little and no person's too big. Every one person makes a difference. Whether you made a difference for 5 people in the classroom today or for the entire campus, you still made a movement and you made something happen. And I appreciate you for that. You make our lives easier so that we can breathe and we can live. Trans people are killed every single day and killed unfairly. So thank you for allowing us to breathe and for giving us a voice.
Thank you.